Hello and welcome. Tonight we'll be doing mobile development from start to publish. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to like and subscribe or follow us on Twitter or Facebook to make sure that you know when our streams start. And thanks for joining Pixel Spark TV channel. We're picking up off from last week, the exact same place we left off with the Pixel Spark Gaming. And for whatever reason, my options keep changing. So let's fix the fonts again. Probably should have had that done before we started. All right, so everybody should be able to read that now, hopefully. Last week we added the font awesome icons. Oh, let's quit that. We don't need that popping up. Make sure. All right. So let's take a look at what we had. Start up our application here. We've got our colors all set. Don't need to open that. Got our fonts. So let's start breaking these down into styles. And just like you would with CSS, we have styles for different labels and colors. So we have the default highlighted button, default button, title label. So we want to have more labels. So let's break that down. Labels. We've got a subtitle and title. Let's look at what we have available. So we have body caption, default header, and title and subtitle that we want to look at. So this was title, and we also want a header. We'll call this header label. And if you recall from last week, this header here, this value for font size, is a dynamic font size that will adjust whenever the user has adjusted their settings. So if they have poor eyesight, they should be able to see this. It'll expand with their zoom. All right, so we have that. We want to actually see what this looks like in the page before we start using it. So let's add that. We've already got a title. Let's change this to body. Oh, views. Views. Yeah, we want viewers. Subtitle. All right, and then so we've set that this style like we would do a CSS class. We want to set that to subtitle. And we want to set this to title. Thanks for joining us. That sounds good. Lots of exclamation points because we're really excited. All right, so we've got the title here. That's what it looks like. This is what the subtitle looks like. This is what body looks like. Now we need a header. Do we already have some text up here where it says Xamarin, or is that a image? That is an image. It's part of the Xamarin logo. So let's do a header. Just for giggles, we're going to call it about, since this is the about page. Oh, let's get rid of that. That's cheating because the CSS or the style for Xamarin.Forms should handle that. And then we should set this style, static resource, to header label. And be sure to feel free to ask questions if you have any questions in the chat. all of our sessions will have, I'll try my best to respond. Sometimes you might need to remind me that you're there. So this is our header. This is what a header looks like, a header size. Right now, what font are we using? We are using, so we don't have the fonts set here. We do have default label as the base class. And we are only setting the color. So let's move this down here. There is a font that I would love to use, but I don't have the rights to use it. It is only for personal use. It is called Dungeon. It's for Dungeons and Dragons. I'm using it here inside of Adobe XD for the design, but I'm not going to be able to release it commercially. That would just not be okay, unfortunately. I'd love to be able to use it. Maybe if this takes off, I could spend a little money and be able to actually pay for a real font. There are fonts that you can get through Adobe, and I don't remember how to get them. I do have an Adobe subscription. If you're wondering how I have all these lovely Adobe apps, they are not pirated. Don't pirate your software, especially if you're a software developer. Arr. That's right. We added the ellipse last week. Where did I put the ellipse? I put it right here. That's right. Okay. So we've got all our labels here. This is a highlighted label. Now, unfortunately, we can't do something like having multiple classes. You can only have one style. Unlike CSS classes, you can only have one style. So that's a bit unfortunate. Be nice if that changed, but that's really deeply embedded into how XAML works. So let's start working on our menu here. We've got create campaign, since that's our default. Let's see here. We've got views and view models. So let's talk a little bit about Mvvm. So Mvvm is a way of separating concerns. It's very similar to MVC. It's an expansion on that. So Mvvm, which is model view model, has the model, which is your data and your business logic, and then you have your view, which is how it's rendered on the screen. And really, you should have the VM between the M and the V, but it doesn't roll off the tongue very well. So the view model connects the data. Let's see, do we have anything in here that actually does any real data? New item. Okay, so our data store here under models would be our model. Where is data store? Base view model. So that is a service. So model and so all your models and your services are part of the model part of the framework. And these are just in memory. So in a real application, which this is going to be a real application, you would store it in a combination of maybe like SQLite for local, and then have a RESTful service for the backend. You wouldn't want to connect directly to a database. unless it's something like CosmoDB or something like that, and you had a read-only key. Because anybody who has the key that you give them would have access to whatever that key allows you to do, or password, username and password. You wouldn't be able to limit them with logic like users only get to access their data and such. So let's create a new view. And we're going to right-click Views, select New Item. We're going to go down to Xamarin.Forms here. And this is a little confusing. There is a content page and a content page. So there's one that's called C#, and that's going to create just a C# class. So you wouldn't have all of your templated XAML with it. You would just have the CS, and you'd have to generate, or C#, you'd have to generate all of your models using C#, which is perfectly fine. Lots of people do that. That is not my preference, though. So I'm going to create campaigns view. Actually, let's back up. We're going to have lots of views, so we're going to make this into a folder. Oops. Yeah, since it's running, I can't change the name of the folder or add things. So let's rename that. We're going to call this campaigns. And we're going to create a new item. The content page again. Campaigns view. And I put a view at the end because it's a view. That's kind of the naming standard for Mvvm. Excuse me. All right, so we've got this new page. And we want to go down to App Shell, and we want to make that our default view. So let's take a look here. Get rid of, hide this. Flyout item about. So we're going to start out with a flyout item title campaigns icon. We'll figure out an icon later. And we're going to do shell content route. So routing will be important when we do navigation later. But for right now, we're just going to do route campaigns. And then we're going to provide a content template. And then we're going to call it data template local. Is not going to have our view. So let's come up here. If you've done XAML before, you'll be familiar with this, but we need to add a namespace. Instead of using like you do in C#, we do XML namespace, and the prefix we want for this namespace. And then we're going to say, let's see here, can I get a shortcut? Yep, there we go. Views.campaigns. So we got to make sure we have that folder in here. And we're going to put this, change prefix from views to campaigns, because we're going to have other views in here from different subfolders. And then we're going to call the name. So we have our namespace alias, if you will. And then we have our page, or our class name. So that's the class name. And we don't have any code behind. I don't like to have anything in the code behind. I like to put all that in the view model. That's kind of the nice thing about Mvvm, is there's this separation of concerns. So I don't have to go digging through CS code behinds. Now, if you want to do something fancy with the logic, I mean not the logic, like the UI, that might be somewhere that you would put something to control the UI code-wise, but not really like business logic and such. So we've got this page. It's pretty generic. Let's see here, can I? No. So let's pull this out. It's running. We're going to split the screen here. Hello. Looks like we dropped off here, but I'm back. Hopefully we'll stay online. Hopefully. Where was I? So like an empty view template. So let's see what we can put here. Oh, we need the data template. So inside of item template, item view template, all these different templates, header, footer, you need a data template, and that's opposed to a control template. So let's do label, text, hello, Pixel Spark, viewers, and oh, it's angry because I don't have a data template here. Well, let's start setting some background colors. So whenever you get stuck like this and you can't find out where your element is, I made that red. And if you ever want to reference it, a element in Xamarin.Forms, and the code behind you would give it a name. So x:\name, campaigns list. Oops. And let's give it a background color. It probably needs to expand. No, it's there. Style, static resource, header label. Let's add like a footer and such. Header template. Oh, you know what? I bet this isn't a template. I think we need the actual empty view. There we go. My mistake. Sorry about that. I don't want the template. I want the view. All right. So we do have this in our design. Oops. Let's close that. I don't need that. In our design, we don't have a header per se for the collection view. We do have a header for the page. Let's flip back over here. Oh, over here. Pull this back up. Can I get rid of these numbers? That would be great. I don't normally do this with UWP, but I figured it was the easiest way to do this. So that y'all could see. Well, let's forget that for now. Let's please add more. Now in my design, I have a plus sign up here. So let's add that plus sign. So we need to remember where my page is. Hello. Need to add a toolbar item. Toolbar item. Now, when we're ready to use this, we'll use a command. So we want our icon source image, and then we'll have to go back into the app to set this up. So let's go ahead and add this in our style. And eventually we're going to draw icons out of the styles, and we will save this in its own file. But for now, we're going to call this add. Do we not have all the? Nope, we don't. Okay. Let's go ahead and steal that from one of our favorite Microsoft people, Dave Ortinelli. Oh, no. Iconfont.cs. Let's be a little lazy and just get them all. Gotta catch them all, right, Pokemon? I never really got into Pokemon myself. That was Other people in my family did. My son really enjoyed it for a while. He watched all the series, and I mean all of them. Ooh, that's a lot of characters. We really did catch them all. All right, let's go back over here to our style sheet. Let's close all these. It's probably going to close my other window. Save. Yeah, it did. I'll have to reopen that, but that's fine. So we're going to reference. Add. Nope, it wouldn't be that easy, would it? AD plus. Is there a plus? Calendar plus, cart plus, folder plus. Well, let's do a regular plus. We don't want to encircle it or anything. So plus, we'll have to restart it because we changed C#. We could enable hot restart. I think that's a thing. All right, so we don't. That was interesting. Let's pull that up and see what's going on. Oh, yeah, it would, help if I actually referenced the icon I just set up inside of my toolbar. Like a semi-intelligent developer. All right. Splash screen. All right, so there's our plus. I don't like the color, so let's change that. We're going to set that color to be, what size? Primary color, which is white. So we get a little preview of it. And I don't know why I restarted for that. But anywho, where is my collection view not showing up immediately? It's an interesting bug in UWP. Okay. All right, so let's create a view model for this. We're going to call this oh no, let's create a folder. I know it seems like a lot of work, but you'll thank me later because there's going to be a lot of these. Campaigns, view model. Oh wait, what did I call? Yeah, campaigns view model. Seems a bit redundant, doesn't it? All right, so we're going to have a list, and one of the things that we need to do is we've got a base view model here, and we need to implement this thing called iNotify property change. And this is one of the beautiful things about Mvvm. So in any kind of GUI application, especially on a phone, you really, really don't want your, yeah, I know, I keep dropping out, sorry. You really don't want your GUI locking up. So you don't want to be executing any long-running process like accessing a web service using your UI thread. You want to use that in a background task. That keeps you from locking up your UI, because if it locks up and the user thinks your app is frozen, they're probably going to uninstall it, and that's never good. So with Mvvm, so without Mvvm, you have to call a task, a special task, in order to basically background your task. And then you have to, anytime you want to access a UI element, you have to invoke on the main thread or you invoke on the UI thread. And it's kind of this pain you have to deal with. And if you ever invoke a UI element from the background thread, you're going to crash your app, which is even worse. App crashes are horrible, especially on the phone. One of the nice and unfortunate things about enterprise development is that users are kind of stuck with you. So even if your app is horrible and crashes, they don't really have a choice. But consumer apps or commercial apps, they have a lot of choices out there. If you have a really great idea for an app, chances are, and it's unique, chances are within like 10 days, someone's going to have the exact same app out there that's just as good as yours. If you have any major flaws, they're not going to have them, and they're going to steal your users because it's so easy to install a new app. So iNotify property change is something you implement in Mvvm, and so that you could just update a property, and it will update that UI element, and you won't have to worry about calling different threads. And it triggers this event on property changed, and when you bind, when your UI is bound to your in view model, or your view is bound to your view model, it will know what to update when you change something. So let's create a list. And normally in C# you use something called a list quite often, or a dictionary. There is something called an observable collection. And we don't want the iObservable, we want collection. And we want to call this campaigns. And let's go ahead and import or use object model namespace so we can have our object collection. So we don't have a type for campaign yet. Let's create that real quick. Under models, campaign, public. And this is just a plain old C# object or a POCO. Oh yeah, the design. You'll need a title and a subtitle and an ID for any kind of database. So let's go ahead and create an ID, and we're going to do, instead of like an integer, we're going to do a GUID ID, right? And then we're going to have a string for title, and then a string for subtitle. And we'll end up adding some more things to this, but that's all we want for right now. Interesting. So that implements, okay. So we're just going to create a dummy service. We're going to call it mock campaign store. I'll call it service. I prefer services. It's just a naming thing. It's not really actually anything. Store, and it's going to be of type campaign. And then we need to implement our interface. So this will allow us to add items, which we're not allowing yet, delete items, and update items. We need to get items right now. That's the first thing we need to implement. And we're just going to return a list of campaigns that we're going to hard code for now. Oh, that was something else we need. We need an image. Title. Let's see, our ID equals GUID, new GUID. Title. Subtitle. Well, actually, okay. Oh, we need to make this async from result. Now what doesn't it like about this? Okay, so I have to convert this to, and let's just, I have to convert it to an enumerable, which I can do to, no, I can't. That doesn't seem right. Return task dot from result campaigns to enumerable. Why can't I do that? Okay, now I'm curious. I'm going to dig into this. We're going to go look at list. Yeah, it's an IEnumerable. Why are you being a pain about this? We're just going to have to cast it, I guess. Okay, well, that's interesting. All right, so we have our fake service here. So one of the other elements of Mvvm is dependency service. So instead of referencing a fully implemented class, we will reference an interface, which is sort of like a contract, so that we say that we're going to do something in the contract. They didn't even do it right. So dependency service register, and I'm going to say the interface, which is data store campaign. Nope, campaign. And we're going to have a mock campaign service return. So anytime I ask the dependency service to give me an data store of type campaign, it's going to give me a mock campaign store. And the reason why this is good, and because if you're a better developer than I am, you'll actually would write unit tests for all your view models, so you can test all the logic in them without having to run the app, and you can automate that and test it down to the smallest thing. But instead of having to use a real data source, you can, looks like I got cut out again. Looks like I'm reconnected. So you can cut out the data source and just mock that up and use whatever fake data you want. I don't know what is with my computer tonight. I think it's XD is just using up a lot of the graphics card. I might have to convert that to something like an image. We'll see. Or export it to a web browser. So yeah, you can basically replace this interface with fake data and test all of your view models, which is pretty cool. So if we were to actually, oh, not actually, we're gonna come back over here to our view model. So we want an observable collection of campaigns. And one of the things that we can't do is we can't do like REST calls, database calls. Oh, good. I'm glad you can see me. Is that so in theory, if we have a database or a web service populating this data, we can't do this in the constructor because that would lock up our system. So we're going to just define campaigns as an empty observable collection of campaigns. And the reason why I'm using observable collections, so if I add or remove or clear this list, it's going to update my UI automatically if I bind to it. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. So I want to start out with an empty collection, because if I don't, it's not gonna see it when I update it. So we're gonna create a load command. All right, let's see if I have this named right. Nice. All right, so this is async. Asynchronous means that I can do this in a background task, basically. So I'm going to create our load command. No, equals. All right, I got this all wrong. Put async in here and create an action. And we're going to do. Actually, let's just make a separate function for this. I hate doing lambda in a constructor. It just isn't pretty. So async task. This sort of handles. No, it doesn't. It automatically does all of the threading control right here. Load async. So I'm creating a method. And we're going to call the dependency service. And get our iData store of type campaign. So this will actually return our mock campaign service. And let's, yeah, we're gonna store this in a field later, but we'll just do it every time for now. Campaign service dot get items async, and what we want to do is we want to clear the campaigns, because we could potentially come back to this page and there could still be items in the campaign. So we don't want to keep adding and adding them. So we want to clear what's already there, and this will clear up the UI. And then we want to add. Unfortunately, the add for observable collection only allows you to add one at a time instead of a list. So we're going to get the campaigns out of here. And then for each, what do we have coming out of here? An enumerable. Oh, you can't do a for each on enumerable. Okay, so we're going to do, oh no. Yeah, let's do this. Campaigns.add. See if this works. Nope. Okay. So we're going to do a for each this way. For each campaign in campaigns, we're going to add it to campaigns. I know that's a lot of campaigns. Let's make this campaign results. That's a little more clear which is which. And that'll update our UI automatically. And because we're doing this using a set value, you probably won't even see it happening. So now we want to tell load command to use the load async method. It's a couple of extra steps to tell it to what method to call, but that's fine. That way we can bind it. So let's talk about binding. So we want to tell this page, campaign views, what its view model is, because it doesn't know which view model it is yet. So we're going to say content page data context, no, binding context, sorry. We're going to grab the namespace for that. It's called VM. So now it knows to use the campaign's view model. And then we can tell the collection view. So we're going to bind it. It's items sources. You can bind pretty much anything, but in this case we want to bind item source. And this will tell it that our item template is going to format whatever's in the item source or items. So let's do something basic to begin with, and then once we have it running, we can make it a little bit better. So in the data template, each data template is bound to an item from campaign. So each campaign is going to have its own data template. So I can access anything in here. So any of these items, I can bind to them. So we're going to do title. Oh, now I got to say binding title. And we're going to use style title and label text binding subtitle style subtitle. And you could have this, oh, nope, style static resource title. All right, so now we should have, the other thing to note is that data template is not a layout. You can only have one item in the root of template, so we need to throw a stack layout out here. So a layout will tell the screen where to put things. You have things like absolute layout, grid, stack layout, which just puts them on top of each other or side by side. There's like flow layout. There's a bunch of different layouts. I'm not going to go through. Then there's layouts like box view and things like that that only allow for one item, which are a lot less useful. But if you want to have more than one thing in a data template, you need a stack layout. And we're going to do, well, let's just run it and see what it looks like. Why is that not loading? No campaigns, add more. Oh, right. So we need to make sure that the load command is executed. And we're going to use the bind event to command behavior from the community toolkit. Here to the behaviors. No. Source, toolkit, behaviors. Event to command behavior. So in regular Xamarin.Forms and pretty much any programming, you're going to have these things called events. Those are triggered when something happens. It's not always a user initiated event. But things like click and stuff like that are what is this a part of? Community toolkit behaviors. That is strange. Let's stop. Take a look at our packages. Xamarin Toolkit. Hello, computer. There we are. View object browser. I wonder if this is a separate package. Let's see here. So there are events like click. Is a really common one that you're going to use. No, it's all there. It's the latest. Let's look at their tag. 1.0.3. I'm just making sure that behavior is in there. I don't know why it's not there. Oh, base behavior. I don't need base behavior. I need event. Why can I not put that in there? That is very strange. I've done this before. You think it'd work? Okay. Let's just manually put it in there and see if it works. But like I was saying, there's a lot of common ones like click, load, those sorts of events. In Mvvm, you replace events with commands. So you can do like a click command. In this case, we want to create a load command. So we're going to do content page behaviors. And we're going to do behaviors. That should work. Let's take a look. Well, when in doubt, just do it yourself, I guess. We're going to just copy the code. It's open source after all. That is extremely annoying. Event to command behavior. You know, let me look at this. This is bothering me. So if you haven't used this tool before, there is a neat little tool. Do I have my references somewhere? Then called Open Just Decompile. It's by Telerik. It's a nice little tool that lets me actually go and look at what's in a DLL. It's right there. Why is that not working? There's a public class. Can I reference it in my CS file? Let's see here. We're going to be using Xamarin Community Toolkit dot behaviors. Okay. And then, just to avoid confusion, public event to command behavior. It's a class. Why is that not working? Let's try this one more time, because I'm ever the optimist. Was not found. Verify that you have the missing assembly. Build. Oh. Do they not have it for... No, it's in there. Is it not It's showing up for the .NET Standard class. So there's yet another cool tool that you get introduced today. It's called Nougat Package Explorer. If you ever wonder what's in one of your packages, you can go and look from the online feed or pull up the package that you've downloaded or created yourself and actually open it up and see what's inside. So we're using .NET Standard. What are we using? .NET Standard 2.0. Okay. So 2.0. Open with. Okay, don't look at my private files because, there's horrible things on here. Just kidding. I'm pretty boring. Telerik. Must be under the 64-bit. Where did it go? Okay, let's look. That's not what I wanted to do. Just decompile is where? Progress, that's right. They are progress now. That's real progress, but bump. Thank you, thank you. I know you all came for just, the bad joke, so. Progress. Properties. Just decompile libraries. There we go. Open that up. Well, thank you. I know what that's used for. Let's just copy it to a folder. I'll delete it in a second. I promise. Take a look in here and see what we have. It's right there. I don't understand why that's not showing up. Will it stop complaining if I change the version to 2.1 maybe? Yeah, I broke a bunch of other stuff. Oh. We have to update this. We'll just make it the latest. Nope. Oh, let's not make that the latest. Yep. There we go. Well, that didn't work. I think my children are defective. They make squeaking noises. Yes. No, that didn't work. All right, so let's look in here real quick to see if it actually fixed it. No. 2.0. Cannot be resolved still. That is strange. Well, I will try to have that fixed by next week. We're going to go ahead and just copy this for now. Set to command behavior. It doesn't like that because of the name. So we're going to change this to pixel spark dot gaming dot behaviors. And let's, oh, it lets me, no, it's not letting me do something. What is it not letting me do? Do I not have, is it, ooh, is it a dependency on Xamarin.Forms problem? So we can actually go over here and look. I know I'm kind of getting way off task. Standard Xamarin.Forms 5. So let's look. What version do I have installed? Do I not have what? I've got a slightly newer version. That's fine. What? All right, let's just close all of this because this is confusing. Clean and rebuild. Doom, doom, doom. Playing Inspector Gadget. See if we can get this to work. Cross our fingers. Cannot resolve assembly. Okay. So this is busted. So we need binding mode dot default. What is 2? One way is 2. So let's replace all of those with one way. We want it that way. Don't worry, I won't quit my day job and start a singing career. You don't have to worry about it. I promise I won't do that. Simplify to string. Simplify. All right, we'll fix that in a second. So we need just decompile again. Where is this? Old value. So I'm guessing something changed in the new version of Xamarin.Forms. So let's change our version, backdate it a little bit. just ever so slightly. Name method expected. Bindable object. So let's go back over here. Where is this code? Event command shared. Okay, let's just copy this code instead of the decompiled code. It'll probably complain a lot less. Where is that coming? Oh, the internals. Let's build. Oh no, pixel spark .gaming .behaviors build. We're going to update this to Pixel Spark Gaming. Don't try this at home, kids. Dooby-dooby-doo. Okay, well that didn't seem to work. So let's throw a breakpoint in there. That way we can stop the code right as it's Oh, I know what I did wrong. We have to actually define it. Event name on, no, there's no, okay. Thank you. Yes, yeah, that should throw an error, but I'm not, why would it, okay, let's fix this. On load, no, loading. Where are my events for this? Appearing. So we want to take the appearing event. That's the event we're going to look for. And then we're going to bind it to the load command. And that's what we implemented over here in our view model. Load command to execute this method. And this would be a lot quicker if I wasn't debugging that other code. Oh, it helps if I have the breakpoint in here. So let's add the breakpoint. Trigger that again. We're going to switch pages and then come back. And then we're going to step through this. So we've got a campaign service. We have our campaigns. And then we're going down here. We've cleared out campaigns. We're going to grab the campaigns out of our store. And we've got one, and it's going to add it. And then it should show up on the screen. So let's see what we're doing wrong. Fix this up again. Item sources campaigns. Let's set a background color. Purple. Nope. Okay. All right. So one of the cool tricks we can do here is why would that not show at least empty? So it knows there's something here. So let's swap this out with a grid now. A grid around it. So a grid is sort of like a table. If you've done web development before, there's rows and columns and cells and spans. You can span multiple columns and rows and all that lovely stuff. Oh, now it loads. Well, anyway, we're going to add what I was going to add anyway. We're going to add a, let's do a frame. Can I do a background color on a frame? Alice blue. Actually, let's just do the progress. No. Is it a spinner? Loading. I gotta look this up now. Xamarin.Forms spinner. Loading spinner. I don't want activity indicator. There we go. So that's what it looks like in OS and Android. Let's see what it looks like in UWP. Activity indicator is visible. And we're going to bind it to is busy. Is running. And we got to bind that. Is busy. All right, so right now, is busy is implemented. It's in the base view model, if you remember that. But we're not doing anything with it, so we need to set that up. And we're going to say is busy equals true. Oh, yeah, it might actually help if I inherit from base view model. Live coding here. See, that's the disadvantage of watching this live coding instead of a pre-rehearsed thing. This is all live. You get to see all my mistakes. You're all running away. I see the viewers dropping. All of you running away. It's okay. I'd run away too. Held message for some reason. What? Why is my automated mod is being weird? It doesn't like the word Nougat. Whatever. Okay. So, okay, where were we? We're setting up is busy. So we want busy to turn on while we're loading and turn off. Let's make sure that is busy is defaulting to false. So it is defaulting to false. The default Boolean is false anyway, so you don't actually have to set that. But the way this is going to work, you're not going to see this because this is just instantaneous just about. So we're going to put a little bit of a cheat in here, and we're going to put a delay. And we're going to make this async. And because we made it async, all we have to do is do an await for that to work. And we're going to make it last 500 milliseconds. So that's half a second if you're not familiar with milliseconds. So it shouldn't be too long of a delay. It should just be like almost a flicker, but you will actually be able to see it. So let's take a look and see how that looks. We can get rid of this. Why does UWP hate me? All right, we're gonna jump over here to Android because I'm tired of it not loading. Running it on Android for the first time. Gotta love this. These new Google emulators are so much faster than they used to be with this hot reload. I wish the compiler was faster. They are working on that, but that's a combination of Java and the Xamarin compiler. Most of it's on the Java side, though, as you can tell it. Ooh. Oh, yeah, it needs to be title late. No? That is interesting. So it's telling me that title doesn't exist. It's, oh, no, that's a static resource. Why is that wrong? Where do I have title? It's interesting that it would fail in here. Oh, yeah, title label. But UWP would just ignore it. That is an interesting. I wonder if that was what was causing me trouble. But why would it work sometimes? Let's stop. Reload. So I just had to update my styles to fix that. Live coding for you. All right, let's see if we can trigger the load again. Interesting. Oh, yeah. What we want to do is move this. Nope. Move this down here. So it will be on top. So whatever's on bottom. There, you saw it that time. It's really big. We don't want it really big. I set the color here. Color. What colors do we have to pull from? Let's go with highlight color for now and see how that looks. Nope. Static resource. Okay, that looks a lot better. I mean, it looks kind of ugly on the green. Let's get rid of this. We don't need this anymore. And we don't, well, let's see here. We want to put that at the page level. Let's put it at the page level. So what color is this? Let's look at XD again. So that is our green background. Our secondary background. So we're going to set it for the entire page. Background color, static resource, secondary background. Let's see how that looks. Oh, we still got green. Get rid of the green. That looks nice. It's not. It looks. No, it's about the same. There's something a little off on it, but I know it's not the. Okay, sorry about that. We disconnected there for a moment. I'm not really sure what's going on tonight. It seems to be it whenever I pull XD up. So I think I'm going to have to get rid of XD at some point and just use images, exported images. I'm afraid to do it while I'm streaming. I don't want to be disconnected for too long. So let's start at the collection view. We're going to create a margin. We'll start off with like 10, 15. That looks okay. And then we need a padding. So margin is on the outside of the element, and yeah, margin's on the outside, and then padding is on the inside. And then let's go ahead and make this a